The Audi Q7 has shed a whopping 325 kilograms, says our car tester Reinhold Deisenhofer, and we're going to find out how it was done and what advantages it has. Also new with the Q7 are the engines, the exterior, and above all, the interior. The Q7 is 5 meters 5 centimeters long. Few other cars feel as big. That's noticeable in the interior, with the multi-function speedometer. But with this new generation, Audi wants to make the heavyweight handle like a bantamweight, more like an agile sports car than a big off-road vehicle. Audi technical project manager Stefan Scheunemann says the body has lost 70 kilos and the doors another 30 kilos. The outer shell is now aluminum, but the company didn't stop there. It went through the whole car looking for ways to shave off extra kilos. The seats now weigh 18 kilos less. 1 kilo has been saved in the brake pedal and 4 in the luggage compartment floor. Add it all up, and the Audi Q7 weighs 325 kilos less than before. That's the equivalent of 4 big men. The new Q7's exterior is angular and modern. It was a challenge for the engineers to give the broad-faced aluminum outer shell precise design edges. Optically, the car seems flatter, though it is almost as high as its predecessor, and it has shaved a good 3 centimeters off its length. The suspension has been substantially altered too. Our car tester says the Q7 is still more than 5 meters long and weighs about 2 tons, but it maneuvers like a much smaller vehicle. Low weight helps, but so does all-wheel steering, which reduces the Q7's turning radius by a meter. That pays off when parallel parking in town, as well as on mountain serpentines. Here's how all-wheel steering works. If you're driving slower than 50 kilometers an hour, the rear wheels point up to 5 degrees in the opposite direction from the front wheels. That makes for tighter turns and less shunting back and forth. Audi's Stefan Scheunemann says the new Q7's powerful turbocharged direct injection engines have reduced fuel consumption to 5.7 liters per 100 kilometers, or 28% less in summer. Our test car is equipped with a 3.0-liter turbo fuel stratified injection engine. The diesel version sells more, but the TFSI is attractive for its high torque and decent fuel consumption of 7.7 liters per 100 kilometers on the new European driving norm. The Q7 is roomy, agile, and efficient. Even the starting price, just under 61,000 euros in Germany, gets you an interior with the Audi good workmanship. The digital instrument panel puts all the necessary information in the driver's field of vision. You can rest your hand on the gear shift when operating the touchpad. Reinhold says Audi has sold more than 530,000 Q7s over the past 10 years. Now it's lighter, more agile, and more efficient, with a luxurious interior, state-of-the-art assistance systems, and a range of good engines. But Reinhold thinks Audi could have been more daring with the exterior. Our car tester Andre Zimmermann has the key to a Renault Clio. It has the format of a fat credit card. He's not impressed with its workmanship, so he wonders if the car itself is more well-intentioned than well-made. Renault has clearly done a good job, environmentally speaking. The Clio with the DCI 90 engine emits only 95 grams of CO2 per kilometer. The engine puts out 66 kilowatts. In the Lux version, the Clio starts at 18,500 euros in Germany. The Clio's DCI 90 engine is a real fuel miser, says Andre. Since it's a diesel, you can drive with low revs, achieving fuel consumption rates with a 3 in front of the decimal point. Good technology is one thing, the human factor the other, and the most important when it comes to saving fuel. And Renault is aware of that. Our car tester says the Clio helps the driver take full advantage of the diesel engine's savings potential. A luminous strip on the instrument panel shows green when you drive with good fuel efficiency, but moves through orange to red if you don't. You can also view statistics on the monitor that help you analyze and improve your gear shifting and accelerating. So make use of your momentum and avoid unnecessary acceleration and deceleration. Of course, the Clio is not a sports car, but it's very safe. The European New Car Assessment Program gave it 5 stars. Andre is impressed with the Clio's interior, especially in the looks version. The materials are high quality and stylish, and the overall design is very modern. But Andre thinks there's too much piano finish, especially on the steering wheel. He'd prefer it entirely in leather rather than having piano finish trim, which tends to show dust and fingerprints. Those who want to keep their Clio looking clean should pack a microfiber cloth or duster.
Für die empfiehlt es sich eigentlich generell, immer so ein Mikrofasertuch dabei zu haben.
So the elegant appearance has its disadvantages. The Clio suspension is more sporty than comfortable. You definitely feel a bumpy road. The shift feels a bit squishy, and the steering could give better feedback too. Our car tester says the Clio's large outside mirrors provide a good overview of what's happening in back. The Clio looks great from the outside, dynamic, round forms. The daytime running lights are integrated in the radiator grille. The rear door handle is optically concealed. The trunk has enough space, but its floor is anything but flat. The engineers ought to correct that. Andre says the designers wanted to make the Clio sportier with coupe-like lines, but that left the C-pillar too big. When you glance over your shoulder, the blind spot is rather large. As we said, the interior is very elegant, but requires corresponding care. The climate control and the display in the middle are easily surveyed and operated. The seats are good-looking and comfortable, but offer no lateral support. Leather and heated seats come only with the more expensive GT and Sport packages. At 18,500 euros, the Clio is not a bargain, says Andre, but you do get something for your money, inside and out. And the Clio is very environmentally friendly, but Andre liked it a lot better in the front seat. The back seat ought to be roomy enough on short trips, and people shorter than 1.75 m will feel okay there for longer periods. If you don't need the elegant interior, credit card key, and leather steering wheel, you can settle for the dynamic version and save about 1,200 euros in Germany. It comes with the same fuel-efficient engine. After 12 years and 1.9 million models sold, VW is now presenting its 3rd edition of the Turan. It is longer and more spacious inside than its predecessors, but also more fuel efficient. Available in both 5 and 7 seat forms, the Turan's starting price is around 23,000 euros here in Germany. The Mercedes GLE is the latest E-Class luxury SUV to hit the market. It replaces the Mercedes M-Class and sprints to 100 kilometers an hour in under 5 seconds. The starting price for the basic edition of this luxury off-roadster is around 54,000 euros here in Germany. The planned hybrid version will add another 20,000 to the price tag. Marcus Lawrence lives for classic cars. He and some friends run a special workshop for them in Bonn. They often come across old Porsche models, like this 1980 924 Carrera GT, of which only 406 were built. Marcus says he started going to races as a kid, and he began to take the wheel himself as soon as he was old enough. He was allowed to race a Porsche 924 Carrera GT and help his team to victory. Now he is looking forward to racing one again once the car is up and ready.
Hoffentlich bald wieder, denn der Wagen befindet sich bei uns im Aufbau.
Today we are tempting Marcus with the new Porsche Panamera Turbo. It packs a lot of power, but does he think it would be a good car for the racetrack? He finds that in comparison with the old racing cars, the Panamera looks like a spacecraft from the future, but from the front it has the typical Porsche look.
Ein echter Porsche ist.
Marcus says if you look at the central console, you'll feel like you've traveled forward in time, but all the buttons are probably for all the new comfort and assist systems. If you look at the dashboard, it still has the good old round Porsche instruments.
Dann erkennt man schon die alten Rundinstrumente von den alten Porsche wieder.
Time now to look at what the beast has under the hood. Marcus says he can recognize the typical turbo engine details. In a turbo engine, the air intakes don't go to the motorhead, but pass the engine to the side of the turbo setup before passing back to the engine through the air cooler.
Die unten ganz versteckt, jeweils pro Zylinderbank einer liegen und kommen dann erst durch den Ladeluftkühler hier wieder zurück in den Ansaugtrakt.
He says turbo engines were first introduced back in the 1970s, also in series models. Porsche was one of the earliest to do this. Racing cars in the late 70s sometimes had a performance similar to the new Panamera Turbo, but not as long-lasting. The engines needed an overhaul after each race, but hopefully this one will run for a few 100,000 kilometers. The technical data speak for themselves. The Panamera Turbo packs an impressive 382 kilowatts, or 520 horsepower, making it one of the sportiest members of the Panamera family. It sprints from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 4.1 seconds, and has a top speed of 305 kilometers per hour. But it can also take things easy. Our tester says it is a great car to drive, tight steering and surprisingly comfortable. He says you can use this high-speed car for longer trips and in the city, and Marcus really likes that. Marcus says the double-clutch transmission is great fun. In the past, he wouldn't have gone for automatic transmission, but this one changes up quickly and smoothly through 7 gears. Marcus says it is better than the old 4 or 5 gear systems, and he loves the gear shift paddles. Marcus puts his foot to the floor on the Autobahn. On this section, there is no speed limit. Marcus is impressed. 520 horsepower and 700 Newton meters, starting at 2,250 revs per minute. This car really moves, he says. It gets even better when you push the Sport or Sport Plus buttons. The whole chassis seems to tighten up. Marcus says, just listen to that roar. You know, it could even go faster.
Nochmal straffer und kerniger wird. Und auch der Sound, man hört sofort, dass da noch mal ein bisschen mehr geht.
But how would the Panamera Turbo size up on the racetrack?
Ja, mich hat überzeugt.
Marcus says he's convinced by this all-rounder. He is impressed by a sedan combining sport and comfort, but it weighs 2,000 kilos when it's empty, so it is not a race car. Someone looking for something more agile and purist should go for a classic Porsche.
Und puristischer will, der ist wahrscheinlich mit einem klassischen Porsche besser bedient.
The seaside resort of Biarritz, France. The perfect spot to bring home-built custom bikes together with surfing and art on the beach. It's the Wheels and Waves Festival, a celebration of freedom and individuality, expressed in the bikes. Each one of a kind, each built with love and devotion.
This is, a place where everybody can bring whatever they got, what they have done in their sheds at home, and it's interesting to see all the different, the creativity that people actually brings up on a show like this.
The motorcycle's actual make is of secondary importance. Every brand is here, from Harley-Davidson to Beamer. This mountain man from the Alps has equipped his bike to round up cattle. He's deliberately let the fuel tank rust and included provisions for his liquid needs in the high valleys. BMW Motorrad has chosen this very special venue to debut its own interpretation of a scrambler, the BMW Concept Path 22, based on the R9T. Ola Stingegaard of BMW Motorrad explains that they've set the frame higher and given it the right exhaust system and wheels, 17-inch in back and 19-inch in front, with rims especially milled for this motorcycle. It's got a little single seat with a hump in the back. A scrambler is a motorcycle outside the established standards and conventions. Performance takes a back seat to style and originality. The BMW Concept Path is powered by the typical Beamer two-cylinder boxer engine with cardan shift drive, while such typical scrambler features as lug tires, a larger front wheel, extended shocks, and high-mounted dual-can exhaust get the bike effortlessly through sand and gravel. The climax of the Wheels and Waves Festival is the Punk's Peak Race, where the new BMW Concept Path 22 can strut its stuff. And this little Goliath F400, car tester Christoph Bauer definitely turns heads. It's the brainchild of a big name in German automotive history, Karl Borgward. He designed a three-wheel minivan back in 1924. The Blitzkarren had its bed in front of the driver. Christoph Bauer says the Goliath F400, by contrast, had its bed behind the driver, following Borgward's principle of load in back, power in back. The Goliath had rear-wheel drive. It was marketed as a quick delivery van, but the vehicle is anything but quick. It has an absolute maximum speed of 50 kilometers per hour, and it seems like it takes forever to reach that. In the 1920s, these cheap little three-wheelers neatly filled a niche in the market. It put Germany's small tradesmen on wheels. Imitators like Tempo, Rollfix, and Standard quickly followed with minivans of their own, but none could fix the concept's inherent weaknesses. Christoph explains that the three-wheeler's biggest problem is that it tends to tip over when taking a curve too fast. 30 kilometers per hour was enough to land it on its side. Heavy loads and back helped somewhat. Also, with such a narrow front, the driver could easily misjudge the width of the rear and end up literally stuck in traffic. In spite of these minor flaws, the motorized tricycles are a common sight in the narrow streets of Trentino in northern Italy. Here, the Piaggio Ape has carried on the three-wheeler tradition since 1947. It's hardly any wonder that the three-wheel minivan is so popular south of the Alps. They're ideal for navigating the narrow alleyways typical of Mediterranean old towns, and orchards, and vineyards. With just 12 horsepower, the Goliath manages to climb up to Perdigine Castle. Christoph is impressed by the two-stroke engine strength. The two-cylinder 400 cc's deliver 12 horsepower, and its location under the seat nicely warms the occupants' behinds, and it lowers the center of gravity to minimize the danger of tipping. The competitors weren't always as clever. The Tempo Hanseat, for instance, had its engine right over the front wheel, which made for rather adventurous handling. The Goliath F400 weighs in at just 550 kilos. It's built with only the barest essentials. Minimal design for maximum success. Over 18,000 F400s and F200s were registered in Germany between 1933 and 1937. The F200 was powered by a 6-horsepower single-cylinder two-stroke engine. Both produced a sound as unforgettable as it was typical. Christoph says the little Goliath F400 could haul up to 750 kilograms. That's why coal merchants, bakers, tradesmen, farmer, and many others found it so practical. And several variations were available. The classic flatbed, as here, and the closed-panel van that could serve as a mobile shop with pull-down shutters, or as a livestock carrier. The Goliath swiftly established itself as the market leader in its class. But even with the sensational success of his three-wheeler, Carl Borgward's story did not end well. Christoph says Borgward should have heeded the old saying, "Cobbler, stick to your trade." The three-wheelers made up the lion's share of his success, but he wasn't satisfied to stick with the lowly delivery vans and tried to develop luxury sedans and even a helicopter. But that cost money, and eventually he didn't have enough to keep up production of his bestseller. When in 1961 the Bremen Senate refused to vouch for a loan he urgently needed, he filed for bankruptcy. That was the end of Borgward and the Goliath. Around 20,000 Borgward employees lost their jobs in one of the largest bankruptcies in German automotive history. What's left is Carl Borgward's legacy in nearly every corner of the world. Christoph explains that even if three-wheel minivans like the Goliath have since vanished from Germany, they can still be found abroad. The thousands and thousands of tuk-tuks all across Asia, for example, or the Ape in Italy, still in production today. He says none of them would exist without the Goliath. It was the first truly reliable and low-priced vehicle for German tradesmen, and in a sense, the ancestor of the VW Golf. He has no doubt the Goliath F400 is a milestone in automotive history. One question remains. Why did Borgward pick the name of an outsized biblical warrior for a minivan? Was it a marketing move, or massive confidence, or just wishful thinking?